Hello and welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and lately I have been foraging natural materials to make homemade inks out of to color the pages of my wizard tome with. Today, while I was out with my dog Moose, I foraged some grass. I don't know if forage is the right word. I plucked some grass out of the ground and boiled it with some vinegar and salt, and currently it is setting. It's gonna have to set overnight, but it's making a very nice pukey, greeny, yellow ink, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. Today's chat is with a budding animator who started dabbling in stop motion last August and has since seen her social media, her Instagram, grow to over 100,000 followers in just this short amount of time. She's also gained millions and millions of views for her work, which is incredible. And her name is Emmy Robinson. She's otherwise known as Emmy online. And in our chat, she's going to share the 30-second decision that she made to basically quit school, upend her life, and go all in on Instagram, making short stop motion animations about handling loneliness using duck gooses. Now, she's also going to share how she found and capitalized on her niche, as well as her hacks to get famous on social media. So without further ado, let's jump in. Hello, Emmy. What's up?
What's up? How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm running off of no sleep right now.
Oh no,
So
why? Why?
um
Should I ask?
so I was making a project last night, so I just didn't sleep
Fair.
because I had to go to work today, so I was just working on it. And like I really like what I do, and I've realized that I don't mind not sleeping to make like stop motion stuff.
Wow.
So
You
yeah,
sound
I've definitely
exactly like
lost sleep.
me when I was your age. I was working at Tim Hortons as a supervisor. Tim Hortons is like a
Wow.
coffee shop, like I guess
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts in the States.
Yeah.
I was like a supervisor, and then I come home like smelling disgustingly like coffee, because it like seeps into your skin over like 8 hours.
Yeah.
And then I would get some clay and make little like claymations on my dresser and like film it in a couple hours and have no sleep. So,
That's how
so
it
what are you
hey.
doing during the day that is taking you
Well,
away from
during the
stop motion?
day, I substitute and I work for elementary schools. I really love working with kids, not just because they're like constant inspiration to make stuff,
Because you can
which
force
is
them to
nice.
follow you on social media.
No, I'm not actually allowed to give them my social media, but it's quite funny because I do stop motion, but I've also done murals. So I did a mural at the elementary school I work at, and that's like the only thing they've been exposed to where I was
Oh,
like, oh, you know that mural out in the garden? I was like, I did that. And they're like, you're an artist? And I'm like, yeah. And then I have to follow it up with, I make stop motion. And then it just becomes a whole festival of them being like, wow, can you make this? Or can you make that? And I'm usually like, no, but I could
no.
try. Yeah, so
Okay, that's kind of weird that you have to like I totally understand not giving away your socials, but you're like a secret famous
yeah,
Instagram
by
stop motion
night,
person and they don't
yeah, by
even
night
know.
I'm like running social media, and then by day I'm like listening to kids chat about
How would you
their
feel if you like
lives.
you were like, you're subbing for a teacher or something and you walk you're like confiscating somebody's phone and they had your profile up and they're like watching your little ducks. Like how would that make
I
you
feel
feel?
like some of them, because I do the older grades too. I was like, I feel like some of them have seen my stuff. They just don't know it's my stuff. But I'm pretty like transparent. I'm like, yeah, my name's Emiro. Like the mural has like my name on it. I'm like, yeah, I do art stuff. Because they always ask, they're
Yeah.
like, do you sleep at the school? And I'm like, no, I go home and I don't sleep, and then I make art stuff. And they're usually like, wow,
I don't
they're
sleep at the school, I
so
just don't
good.
sleep.
Yeah, I like don't.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't sleep, but
Well,
I'll
that's
work on that. I'll work on
okay.
that probably this
Well,
next
as
month.
you watch summers and winters pass you by, you will require more sleep.
I
That's the
will.
thing.
I'm getting there. Don't worry.
Okay, so tell me, give me a little bit of background on stop motion for you because like you basically exploded on Instagram suddenly, all at once, everywhere,
Yes, that was
with my favorite thing
crazy.
in the world, which is little ducks. So tell me, where did you go to school for art? Where you just like woke up one day and you're like, I have a passion for Tiny, tiny popsicle stick sets with little clay ducks, and the world needs to have this.
Yeah, so it's quite funny. I actually, well, I was obsessed with stop motion as a kid. Like I loved every stop motion movie like that other kids thought was weird. I was obsessed with Fantastic Mr. Fox. I had it on DVD. I played it probably like every single day. I was obsessed with Coraline. I had like the 3D version where you had like the red and blue goggles. I loved Gumby. I loved Wallace and Gromit of the Were Rabbit one specifically.
Yeah.
I loved everything stop motion. I just didn't know what it was yet.
Hmm.
So I kind of supplemented that for film. Like I would make home movies and I made film. And then I was like, I love film. Like I love that I can make things. But then I got tired of working with people because I was like, I have to rely on other people to like act in them. And then I have to do sound and I just have to get like 5 different people to like cooperate with me. And then it wasn't until I was like, oh, I was like, I had a weird sock puppet thing, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this weird sock puppet project. And I was like, hey, I was like, I kind of learned about stop motion in elementary school we had like a session where we burned it on CDs, and I cannot find it. And I'm kind of upset because it was my first
Oh
ever
no.
piece, and it was like a little pet shop, like just skating across. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna sell for billions one day, but I don't have it. So yeah, it started there and I was like, oh, what if I did a tiny little scene and I used my phone and I used the stop motion app and I was like hooked. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I can be in my room alone and I can do it by myself. I don't have to be around anyone. I can play music while I do it. I was like, I can do this. And then that's when my friend who's in NFTs was like, "Oh, you should do this." And I was like, I know it has its like issues and stuff like that. But I was like, "Hey, I'll try it." I was like, "Why not?" I was like 18 and I was just a jack of all trades and I couldn't figure out what I wanted, but I was like stop motion. I was like obsessed. Like I'm pretty sure I'm like geeked over stop motion. I love it so much. And I was like, I tried doing like clay stuff. I did like a little fruit series thing. And I was like, this is so fun. I didn't even have Dragon Frame. I just had my camera and I literally hand clicked. There was the flicker and everything. But I still had the color. I was really good at color still, which I liked. Um, and then that evolved where I just kept making stuff for NFTs. And then I left NFTs as it was crazy to keep up with on Twitter. I definitely was not a big fan of being on Twitter. So I stopped that. And for a bit, I just spent time making stuff and learning how to do stuff. And then I made a new account and I was like, this is my chance. I was like, I'm going to be big. People just don't know I'm good yet, but they're going to see how good I am. I was very confident in myself and I still am very confident in myself. Um, and then I just posted random things. And part of me was like, I feel
You're
like
talking about on
ducks.
Instagram, right?
Yeah, on Instagram. I was like, ducks hit really well. I was like, I feel like people like ducks. So I just sculpted. I was like, I'm quite lazy when it comes to animating. And the whole reason I did a duck that doesn't move is because I don't like having puppets that move because they require a lot more work. So it's like, what
Yeah.
if I don't move the puppet and I just move everything around it so I can be lazy but still have the aesthetics that I like? And that is the people never ask. And I'm so glad because they're probably like, oh, it's not some like emotional connection to my child. It's literally because I was lazy and didn't want to animate the puppet.
Oh my
So
gosh.
then
I
I
mean,
made
I
it.
wanted to ask you about this.
Yeah. So it wasn't like some deep I think it's hilarious because I just was lazy and I didn't like working with wire puppets. So I was like, I'm just gonna make one that
Yeah, but like
doesn't
your
move.
duck videos are kind of like lo-fi girl type
Mm-hmm.
of vibes, you know, like like the little like light in the room is like moving around, putting stars on the wall, or like I don't know
Yeah.
if the sign is flashing that he didn't get any kisses or something. Okay,
Yeah.
like I want to
Ambiance.
backtrack a little bit because you have a video. So if anybody looks at your Instagram history, they basically see like 5 posts or something, and then
Yeah.
you being like, "Hey, I'm really great. Nobody knows who I am yet, but I'm gonna be so successful on Instagram." And then like right immediately after that, like hundreds of thousands of views, millions of views, like every
I
post you is
know.
like super like okay, so I've never seen anybody who has nothing come out and be like, you don't even know I'm gonna be amazing. And then they're just amazing. Like so like tell me about that. Where does that come
So
from?
I was well, my thing is like I am very confident in a point where I'm
Where
like,
does the
I don't
confidence
know how
come
to
from,
do
especially as an
something.
artist? Like I'm
I
the
know.
opposite.
I've
I'm
always
like,
been very
I'll
confident in
spend like a
myself in
year on
everything I
one
do.
personal project and be like, it's trash and nobody's gonna like it.
Hey, my theory is, well, I remember reading a lot of books about art and reading stuff about how there's this gap that artists try to chase and close, is that you're making really like bad art and you just have to stick with it and like get through the nitty gritty. And I was like, it's okay. Cause I was like, you look at all the greats and they always have like really bad stuff that just gets hidden. And I was like, I need to have bad stuff so my good stuff looks even better. So when I improve, I can be like, yeah, this is what I was making and look at how good I am now. Because my thing was like, I don't know how to do it, but if I really tried hard, I could learn how to do it. I was like, I
So
think I
you were
could
like
actually
all
do
in.
it.
You weren't like, I'm gonna try
Yeah.
and if it doesn't go anywhere, oh well. You're like,
No, I was
listen,
like
guy,
all in.
listen,
I was like,
world, I'm gonna
yeah.
get good at this no matter what.
Yeah. So it actually, it was like a very hardcore dedication around that time because I had been going to college for graphic design and media for 2 years, and there's a very exclusive program, and I applied to it and I got in, and I almost just wanted to prove that I could get in. And I was in New York with a friend, and he was like, I hated college. I absolutely hated it with a passion. Anyone who goes to college, great. That's good for you. I did not like it. Not that I was bad at it. I got A's. I got in the program. I could do school. It's just wasn't my thing. And my friend was like, if you died tomorrow, what would you do? And I wasn't like those people like, I'd spend $1 million. I was like, I'd drop out of college and I would like make stuff and like just keep making stuff because it was just got in the way. And he was like, then you should. And I was like, I should. And that's when that day I called my mom and my dad because they were helping with college. And I was like, hey, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm dropping out. And I was like, because I'm like, it's like YOLO. I only live once. And I really believe in myself that like if I want to make something, I can make something and I'll figure it out. It was like it wasn't like a, oh, I'm gonna fail. It was like, okay, if that doesn't work, then I'm gonna figure something out. Cause like I'm just gonna make it work. It's not gonna, there's no room for it to not work. So I just like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna make it work. So I just started making
So
stuff
for
and
me
I
to
was
make
like,
such a big decision like that, like I also dropped out of college, but I had like a full-time job lined up. But it took me months of like people calling me, trying to like figure out everything, like weighing my options, talking to the school coordinator, talking to my classmates, talking to people at the like it took me months to make this decision because I was like, I have to make the right decision. But it
mm-hmm.
sounds like you made the decision like super fast. Do
Yeah,
you do
in
that
a
with
within
everything?
probably
Like,
like an hour.
has that ever like burned you in the wrong way, or like, is it like,
Honestly, I think it was the greatest decision of my life
wow,
because I literally right after I dropped out, even like the people I hung out with, they were like, you like I didn't have anything. It's not like I like
yeah, yeah,
had something crazy. Yeah, I was just like me making stuff, but like I was happy. And they were like, wow, you're like genuinely happy. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I love this. I'm like doing what I want. And I was able to still have a job that was able to like provide and work out all that stuff. But it gave me more time to make what I wanted. And I remember thinking, I was like, I know right now my mom, my grandma, and my friend are the only ones that are commenting on my stuff. But I was like, I full heartedly believed that I was like, just, it's not showing my stuff yet. And I was
wow,
like, my stuff's good. It's
wow.
just not being looked at yet. And I was like, I was like, it's bound to happen any day. And that's why I was like, I'm going to just keep going. And I posted like every day and it was crazy. I like just put so much work into it and then one hit. So
Okay, so how did the conversation go with your parents? Because you got into the super exclusive program, they're
mhm.
paying or they're helping you out with college, etc. Like, that's a if I don't have any kids, but if my kid was suddenly like, I got into this really exclusive program, like, and then
Yeah.
suddenly they're like, I don't want to be in this anymore, I would be like, what's the
Yeah.
backup plan? And if they told me like I don't know anything about stop motion, but I'm gonna do stop motion, I'd be like,
Yeah, that's exactly how I thought. I thought each one of those phone calls, I really thought my mom was gonna be like, no, like I can't believe this, like there's no way. But I literally on the phone, I used a little bit of manipulation in a way where I was like, because both of my parents, I feel like, well, my mom specifically, she wanted to do a lot and she wanted to reach higher than she could, but like because of family stuff that
Mm,
happened, she couldn't. And I was like, look, mom, you wanted to do something. and I know you would have been great at it. And I know you just didn't have the circumstances to do it. And I was like, this is my chance. And I was like, it's okay if I fail because my favorite speech by what's his name? Ooh, he's the guy that's in The Mask. I forgot his name. What's his name?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey gave a phenomenal speech at a graduation ceremony that I still reference to about how just taking risks, because even a safe job can't be safe sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's okay to sometimes take risk, and if you want to go for it, because not a safe job doesn't always guarantee a safe path. And I stuck with that. I was like, look, I would rather take this unsafe, risky path and possibly fail like 20,000 times than go down the safe route and be miserable for the rest of my life, because I only have one to live. And I
Wow.
think I'm like a little special. Like I can do more than probably like someone in the creative aspect. And I was like, I'm going to go for it. And she was kind of just like, it was weird. I don't know what the universe was throwing at me right then and there, but the universe was on my side because my mom was like, well, you're an adult now and you're your own person and you make your own choices, and no matter what, I'm going to support you, and I know you're going to do something great. And I was shocked. I was like, okay. I was like, great. I'm glad you're on board. And then I just went with it and I didn't question
Wow.
it.
I love this. This is amazing. Like a lot of people spend a lot of time in the safe zone, and a
Mhm.
lot of people don't even ever exit it. And for me, for instance, like I spent a lot of time in the safe zone. I was 30 before I decided, I want to take a risk and get into art and do art. So like I don't know. I feel super like proud that you had this like insight, but like so early on in your potential career that you're already going down. So I think that's amazing.
Of course, yeah, thank you. I definitely had like a midlife crisis and was like, hey, I'm young. And honestly, I was always big about that. Is like, I'm not afraid to fail. Like, I'm not afraid to look stupid. I'm not afraid for my stuff to look bad, because I know that I have what it takes to make it look better. I know what it takes to reach out and to do anything I can to make it work. And having that type of confidence is truly like mentally changing. I feel like it gets you more opportunities because you're confident in yourself. You're like, hey, I can do this. I'm gonna go for it. Who cares if I'm rejected? Who cares if like I don't know the greatest animators in the room, but I'm in there because I'm gonna give my spiel. I'm gonna talk up whoever's in there and be like, hey, look, I know I'm not as good, but I will work so much harder than they will. And that was my thing is I will work so hard if I'm given the chance. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, universe, just give me a chance because I will work so hard. I will work harder than anyone. I will not sleep. I will not eat. I do eat and sleep, but I was like, I will not eat and sleep so I can have this opportunity. So yeah, I
I mean,
was
that's a great mentality. That's also very similar to my mentality. Like every time I get an opportunity, it doesn't matter like what the pay is or how many, what the time limit is. I always put at like as absolute much as I can into it as possible. Because like, it's a testament to like what you want to create in the world and also like what you can do and like what you can do for others. Okay, so like talk me through how much time passed between. So first of all, when your friend was like, if you were to die tomorrow, what would you do? And you were instantly like, I would do stop motion.
yeah.
That's it.
I was like, I knew. Like I always
So there
knew.
must
I
have
was
been
like,
some
I
like build up over time of like, I really want to do this thing that I'm not doing it, but like you just had
yeah.
like a moment of clarity where like,
Yeah.
poof, stop
I
motion.
was in it was kind of like a very cinematic moment too. We were by the bridge and we were with someone
You're
else
by a
too. And
bridge.
yeah, we were by a bridge and some water, and it was in New York, it was in Brooklyn. And then I was like, he was like, what would you do? And I was like, I would drop out. And then I called, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. I was like, what do I have to lose? I was like, my life. I have my life to lose because I'm gonna waste away and
Yeah.
not do what I want. And that's gonna be the most shameful of all. So I called. And then right as we did that, we were like, oh my God, I dropped out. And then we literally ran down to the ferry. There's like a ferry there, and we just bought a random ticket. We were like, let's get on it. We were like, let's go somewhere. We are like, I dropped out. This is so crazy. And we got on a random ferry, and I don't know where we went, but we went somewhere in New York at that point. And it was so nice because I was like, I felt free. I felt like I know I'm probably entering in the most unknown, and so many people are scared of that. The unknown is so scary
Yeah,
for
it's
some
death.
people, but hey, it's way better than going down a safe route. You know, you're not going to be happy
Did
in.
you did you have because like I talk to a lot of people like from all around the world and some people say like they really and for myself too like I really had to like work to build up a safety net that I could rely on before I could take a risk. Did you have something like that where you're just like, I have nothing right now, I have no job, I got rent to pay,
I
like,
had I had a job opportunity coming up that was like pretty decent to like cover all of that stuff and like kind
hmm,
of keep it functional. So I was like, ooh, I'm gonna get this job cleared, and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna put this in place to fix that. And I kind of just like quickly got it together, and I was like, hey, I'll figure it out down the road. If there's an issue, then I'll figure out that issue. But I was like, the biggest issue is me. I
yeah,
was like, how I feel, and I was like, I don't like being in college. I felt it was so limiting because I started my biggest fear happened, which was it was starting to influence me. Like how I looked at art, how I was making my stuff. It was becoming so principle like, and I was like, this isn't me. This is not what I like. I was like, I'm losing everything that I worked so hard to build inside, even though I like couldn't execute it as well still. It was just I was like, I'm watching my art fade away to this industrial principle standard traditional
yeah.
like standards, and I was like, I've had enough. I was like, I'm done. I proved that I could do it. I obviously proved I could get into the program, so that was an ego booster. I was like, I got in. Oh wow, accomplishment. And I was like, but I was like, I know I can do it, and I was so willing to take the risk. I like in a heartbeat. I like in that moment there was like no going back. I was like, yep, I'm committing. If I'm gonna commit, I'm gonna commit all the way because it's
I
gonna
love
look silly
it.
if I don't.
I like what you said about like I forget what you said, but I was kind of thinking about like not only are you sacrificing like where you are now, but you're also like, if you stayed on that path, you'd be sacrificing the next like 30 years as a graphic designer, like all of
Mm-hmm.
your future too. So like, yeah, it's like take the risk, jump in. Um, but like, so you got into this prestigious program and you realize that, it's kind of taking away your love for the art of it. Do you still
Mm-hmm.
feel like you learned things that you apply in what you do? Because like, I felt the same way in school because, school is set up to teach you how to get into what the industry wants. And,
Mm-hmm.
the industry is business. And so like the school has to like be worth getting into the industry. So they're going to teach you the conventional stuff and all the boring stuff and the corporate stuff. But you also can really, build up your skill level and execute the things you want to execute with the vision you have in mind that you didn't know how to do before. So like like do you ever regret not finishing your program? Like there's things that you didn't learn or like you saw like maybe your fellow classmates come out with and you're like, dang, I wish I had learned that, but it's okay because it's paid off for me.
Specifically for the graphic design program, there was quite a lot that I learned, like the basic principles. I definitely referenced to like some simple stuff as like rule of thirds and
Well, yeah, like when I look at your posts, like they're very
yeah.
like, it's
Oh,
aesthetically set
very
up
much so
properly.
unaccredited.
It's not like random.
Yeah, it's very much so. So I did take a lot of that stuff, but I took what I learned from there and I just took everything that I learned from them with a grain of salt, especially the subjective stuff that they teach. I kind of just was like, okay, I'm gonna ignore that. But like the like traditional principles, I did take a lot of them and like just made them my own and then like took a little bit more risk. But in reference to finishing the program, I'm really glad I didn't finish the program because I saw what some of the people were coming out with and I was like, I don't really want that, but I mean, hey, I'm open to going back for business because I
Mm.
think business is so cool. And I think like being an entrepreneur and like just being a businesswoman is like insane. I was like, yeah, I want to be business. I want to do the whole business, showbiz, and all that stuff. And I was like, I can figure out the art part and self teach because with stop motion, I feel like if you look really, really, really hard and you like it a lot, you can find quite a bit, which I did. Or you can like self teach yourself by, I just kind of made my own course for myself where I'm like, all right, this one I'm gonna learn about how to properly stage like a rule of thirds while having like different lights at different angles and playing around with that. That's what I'm gonna learn in this one. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make it and see if it works. So I like teach myself as I go,
Makes sense.
and but I still use some of the principles I learned. But I'm really glad that I did not finish that program. But I might go back for a business course. So
Hey,
or
I mean, I have a degree in business, so it's
yeah, hey,
definitely
looks
helpful.
intriguing.
Um, Tell me about how much time passed before between like you saying I don't want to be in school anymore to your first successful, like, the first post where it wasn't just your mom and like your grandma or whatever commenting and liking and subscribing. Like, how long
So,
did it take you?
I dropped out in probably July. And
Right.
then January, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. And then I blew up in like September, October. So
So,
like 2, 3 months.
uh, why do you think that happened?
Honestly, I think right time, right place, right whatever I was making. I made it was when the Mitski song was going all around, and I was like, oh, I was like, this, I love this song. I was like hearing it all the time. I was always looking for popular audios. And then I made this piece, and it was weird because the piece that I made with the duck and the disco, like the main one, like this was the like started of it all. I was like, wow, this actually looks really nice. I was like, I'm usually like, yeah, my stuff looks good. But like, I was like, this looks nice. I was like, I did nice lighting. It looked like smooth. It had like light moving. I was like, this looks nice. And then I actually, this is a secret that no one knows is that I posted this with a completely different song. It was the Sail Away song. It's like sailing takes me because I was obsessed with that song. I was like, I don't even care if it doesn't hit. I was like, I just like the song. And then last minute, I was like, no. I was like, I probably should do a popular song and just keep this song for me in my car. And then I changed it last minute. And I don't know what universe was whispering in my ear, but the universe was definitely whispering in my ear because that would have like changed so much. But it it was funny because it got like 1,000 likes, and I was like, oh my god! I was like, I'm famous. I was like, 1,000 people liked it. I was like geeking. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was like, 1,000 people saw this. I was like, next time I can get 2,000, and then it got like 4,000, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And people are following me, and I was like, I was at like 1,000 followers. I was like, this is insane. And I remember I was still on my thing where I was posting every single day. So I was like, oh, I'm going to post something. I got to post something tomorrow. So I posted something tomorrow, and I was like, oh, but I got to post something again. And I just, as it was blowing up, because I was posting constantly, it kept just fueling each other. Each video would fuel each other because I was just rapid speed. I was living off of it. I was like, I don't care if I sleep. I was like, I'm gonna make another one. I'm gonna make another one. What can I make next? Because I was like, they're gonna love this one. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make another one. Because it for me, it was like I was fishing, and I was just throwing different bait out in the water, like, all right, which one's gonna hook? And I would sit there and be like, all right, a couple people like that one. And then they liked it. And I was like, y'all like this? You're kicking with it? I'm gonna roll with it. I was like, I'll roll with it. And overnight, I gained a style. It was crazy. Like artists go their whole entire life trying to find a style, and I found it overnight. And I just kept replicating in each video. And in each video, I got better at doing it with using like different shades or using different colors. So it was just 3 months of doing the dirt work, and then after those 3 months, it blew up, and then I just kept going at it, and then it just kept going crazy, and then it all unfolded to now. So
Wow, what the heck?
yeah.
So, I asked this question to a lot of people because it's like interesting to me because like for my personal like way of creating art is I don't try to do any trends. I just try to like make something that I personally want to see, and then if it hits, it hits, and it doesn't hit, then I feel bad.
Mhm.
But like, where are you actively trying to do things that you think others will like? Like, for instance, the music, putting the music in, or like you have a very common theme of kind of, I don't know, like loneliness
Yeah.
throughout all your video. Like, are you trying to like hit things that are like hitting with like, I don't know, millennials or like Gen Z or like something specifically to get that attention? Or are you like before even you said like I think people like ducks, so I'm gonna make ducks.
Yeah, so I definitely more so with the audio. The audio is where I like really try and hit the like, oh, what's trending, because it
Hmm.
definitely does help in my
So I guess it
opinion.
doesn't really matter what you're making if you
Yeah,
put the
well,
right
yeah,
audio
it
on it.
doesn't matter what you're making, but I also like I'm very finicky about what I make because at first the stuff that I made was I was like I want it to be relatable, but I also want it to be about me. And a lot of the stuff that I made in the beginning was stuff that's actually happened to me. And I was like, I feel like people I don't care if people like relate. I was like, it is what it is if they relate. But I was like,
Hmm.
specifically the one with the birthday that blew up with Rio Romeo. Um the
Where it
one where
says
it's like, yeah,
BERF day.
yeah, where it's at, yeah, it's the birthday and then everyone didn't come. That actually happened to me, I think on my 19th birthday. And I remember being so sad. And I was like, one day I'm gonna like get you guys back in a way where people are gonna see what you did and they're gonna see it, but it's in a different form. And I literally was like, that's what I was thinking when I made that. I was like, oh, those people, screw
Revenge.
them. I was like, screw them for not coming. I was like, but now I'm gonna make some bomb art about it and people are gonna like it. And I was like, this is gonna be awesome. And it blew up, and it was the greatest like revenge, in my opinion, because I'm not um a person with bad intentions like that, but I was like, this is revenge. I was like, this is revenge of my art. They're gonna, because I was like, they're bound to see it and be like, wow, I didn't go to her birthday. This is about me. So yeah, a lot of my stuff was about me, like the birthday thing or going to the museum alone. A lot of it was just about me like being alone, because it's definitely, I understood that it's really hard to keep people in your life forever. Most of them are going to be like partial moments, and to be content with your loneliness, I think, is like the greatest thing you could ever do, because to rely on yourself and only yourself and trust yourself and know that you're going to take care of things is like, I think it's just joyous. I think it's freedom to have yourself to rely on. So I did, for some of them, I do a little trends where I'm like, haha, this looks silly. People are going to think it's silly. It's like a little break for me to do like little stuff, like, because stop motion obviously takes too much time. Um, but
This
yeah.
is this is really interesting to me. It's almost like therapy through um and it's also indicative of why you got into stop motion in the first place, because you do everything yourself and rely on yourself, and like even the
Mhm.
decision to like say like, hey mom and dad, like I'm gonna do my own thing now, like that's relying on yourself too. And like so it seems to be a very common theme, and it comes across very, now that you explain it to me, it makes total sense when I see your stuff, because like when I see your stuff I get this sense of like sad, but it's okay. Like, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like I'm not actually a sad person. I'm not a sad. I think I thought it was quite comical because, a lot of people that are sad will like comment on and they're like, wow, like this really helped me through a hard time. I'm like not feeling good. And I'm like, I'll make these and I'm like having the time of my life. Like I'm driving to work, blasting music. I'm like living, because it's almost like I get to make this sad stuff, but it's almost like it's like past for me, or I'm like embracing it because I'm like, this happened to me. Oh well, I'm having the time of my life. I'm making what I want. I'm
Yeah.
doing what I want. It looks pretty.
Isn't
And
it insane that like a 10 frame loop of like, I don't know, a duck sitting on a bed or something
mhm.
can relate so hard to somebody?
Yeah, I found it at first. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I knew people were gonna like my stuff. Like I knew my stuff looked nice, but I was like, I didn't know it looked this nice.
Wow.
Um, it's definitely crazy what people will like say to me, and they're like, wow, I can't believe you, like this is amazing. Like I've seen, like this is so relates to me, and I'm like, wow, it's crazy because it's so basic in a way. It's a
But
duck.
like like that's like stop motion specifically, and the style that you have lends itself to like, the person watching it knows that this is like handcrafted, probably
Mhm.
by one person. It's very simple, it like lends itself to those feelings in the first place of like, it's very real and all that stuff. So like it makes sense to me. And also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off if you.
No, you're good.
Like I think you've hit like such a interesting social media perfect aesthetic, because like stop motion, like you already said, takes so much time.
Mhm.
But when I look at your stuff, like you can bang that out really quickly, versus like,
Mhm.
there's no rigged puppets. You're not creating like crazy backgrounds with multiple characters. You even
Yeah.
said yourself like the duck
Doesn't
typically
move.
isn't moving at all. It's like just something simple in the background that's
Mhm.
moving, and it like hits so hard, and it's like perfect, because like I have this internal struggle all the time. First of all, I don't have time right now to tackle social media. But like,
Right.
if I want to export my style for social media, like I'll make one post a month maybe, because like my style is like, a character is like fully
Yeah.
realized and animated and bouncing around and stuff. And that takes so much time. And like, it's a quip that a lot of stop motion animators or just animators have in general with social media, because animation takes so much time. But you
Mhm.
found like such a great aesthetic that can play exactly to the algorithm and like people's expectations. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, you've done tons and tons and tons of posts. And I know that part of your journey is like, you're still working, but then you're coming home and spending all night and not sleeping animating.
Hmm.
At some point, do you want to be like a full-time animator? Like, do you envision like I want to make my bread and butter through like what I'm doing creatively?
So I thought of that for like a bit and I was like, wow, how nice would it be. I definitely think like part of me would love to make something grander in a sense because there's so many like pieces that I look up to that are like 5 minute pieces or like 10 minute pieces. And I think they're just absolutely phenomenal. And I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I want to make something like that. But honestly, I'm like, because I've always been a jack of all trades, just being cool with everything. Like if I can learn how to do it, I'll learn it. Like I love sewing. I learned how to use a sewing machine. If I learned how to do paper mache, I could probably make something really cool. I've done murals, which is cool. So I've like translated that. And I'm like, I want to do everything. I think it would be hard for me to settle and just do stop motion full time because
Gotcha.
I'd be like, I feel like I would just do an injustice to myself because I
Yeah.
want to do everything. I have a list of like everything I want to do, and I always just add new stuff. Like, I want to make a comic book, might not even relate to my character, but I want to make a comic book. I want to write a novel. I want to do more murals. I want to make like courses. I want to work on even like regular film sets with stuff that's not even just stop motion. I feel like stop motion is just my gateway, and it's
Hmm.
something I love. And I know no matter what I do, even if I don't do it every day, that I'm still going to love it and appreciate it. And I just want to do anything and everything there is to do, like, because I think it's so fun. I think everything's so fun to do everything, to write, to make, to create, to paint, to sculpt, to form everything. I think it's amazing. And I think limiting myself to just stop motion, it just, it'd be unfitting for me because
Totally,
I
totally.
want to do everything.
So let
So
me ask you this, like, would you feel like you'd have a fulfilled life if you continued being a teacher and then on the side did different creative projects, like wrote a novel or a comic book or like et cetera, et cetera?
I would feel fulfilled because I know I'd still try. Definitely the hopes are that I can like, ditch the side job and then just do like crazy stuff all the time and make stuff and work with people. And I think the dream is to like get to know people that are just making stuff and doing stuff and that are at the top and like
Yeah.
creating and reinventing because I from my friend who's mentored me a lot, I've definitely learned. He was talking about it, he was like, you want to surround yourself with the best people in the room. He's like, I don't want to be the big fish in a small pond. And I was like, oh, I get that. I was like, I started to get it. I was like, I want to be surrounded by the greatest. I want to be surrounded by the people that are successful, that are making stuff, that are reinventing the wheel, that are doing everything. Because if you're around them, I feel as if their energy is going to push me and excel me even higher. And I only want to be around people that are just higher than me. I want to be around people that are better than me
Yeah.
because I know if I'm around them, I can look at them, I can take notes, I can see what they're doing, and I can reinvent and do my own thing because I definitely feel like it's not like black and white. And I feel like there's so much to it. So, yeah, I definitely want to go with all
Yeah,
that.
there's like some weird quote being like you're the average of like the five people around you, whatever. And I mean, you can take it either way. Like, you can take that in a glass half full or glass half empty way. But
Mm-hmm.
like, there's something to be said. Like, if you surround yourself with people who are doing different things, you're going to be influenced by them, and you're going to have more knowledge in that aspect, and also try out and do those things. So there are definitely like I'm trying to think like I don't know many people that don't specialize in some sort of art as their like calling card, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, but I do know people that whatever creative project is going on, they're going to help out in some way. I actually have a good friend who like she did paper mache horses for like a traveling theater production for like a year, and then she did a giant comic book installation, and then she got a
Wow.
grant to write a novel, and like she'll like she's like it's tough. It's definitely tough because like you kind of follow what's needed if
Mm-hmm.
if you want to make that your full-time thing. Or like for instance, like when I was in the business world, I wrote a novel, I was sculpting, I did a giant 5 foot mural paint. Like it sounds like I was
Mm-hmm.
like all the things that you want to do. I was kind of like it was I had those same aspirations, but I had like my day job that would support me, and then I had all these different hobbies that I just would, I was like, now I'm gonna make a solar powered robot, and it's gonna sit on my balcony and generate electricity, or like now I'm gonna write like a wizard tome, and it's gonna take me like 100 like years. So, do you like? Because I guess I'm wondering, like, it seems like you're going really hard in stop motion right now, and you've gotten some success. Would you want to like see that through, even though you want to do all these other things? Would you want to be like, okay, let's see how hard I can go in stop motion before I stop? Or would you always want to keep this while doing other things?
I mean, in hopes I will be able to keep this and be able to do other things. I think it would be nice to see it almost like translate into other forms, whether it be like marketing this
Yeah.
on like a more global scale. If like, because like, I mean, there's Hello Kitty. I have referenced Hello Kitty. Like, Hello Kitty is Hello Kitty. She'll be in these little animated shorts, but she's also a fashion icon. Fashion is so big, or she's like a novelty item. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how crazy would it be to make something that yet it is like it starts off as something like Domo. Domo is insane. Domo was this stop motion character, and then he blew up in America, and he was on Slurpees, and then he was in 7-Eleven, and then he was backpacks, and then he was beanies. And I was like, how crazy would it be to almost take what is there and still do it, but translate it into other areas and have it become this bigger phenomenon? And I was like, that's so crazy. And I would definitely shoot for that because I think there's just so much to see and do. And I feel like a lot of other people tend to like get overwhelmed and they're like, this is a lot and this is
Yeah.
stressful. I love being stressed. That is like my hobby. I
Great.
love it. I love being busy. I have said that in the past where it was like when my week is booked and I have something to do, I don't sleep. I have the time of my life. I'm like, I'm living. I'm like, I'm working. And the reason why lately I've been like that is because I'm working for me. I'm not
Yeah.
working for someone else's dream. I'm working for my dream. And that's a really big difference is when you're working for someone else's dream and you're working for your dream. And it
Totally.
just feels different.
I
So,
really like what you said about like Domo and Hello Kitty. Like you've already hit a vibe with general people around the world. Like millions of people are watching your stuff. So they're coming to it and they're enjoying it and they're staying. You have 100,000 followers. Like that's
yeah.
crazy. So, and you're already like hitting on the theme of loneliness. And so like what if you tried to wrangle your duck character into like the face of like loneliness, kind of like that little egg character, the depressed egg from I think it's I don't know what country, Korea or Japan or something.
Mhm.
Gudetama, his name is. Do you know what I'm
Oh,
talking
yes, 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 yes. I know exactly. Yeah.
like when I think about like depressed characters, like that comes to mind immediately. And
Hmm.
there's a Netflix show, obviously there's
Yeah,
restaurants, whatever.
a
Like,
lot.
so maybe there's something here with your duck idea. If you like really go hard on it, and it becomes like the symbol of like loneliness is okay for people, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's been interesting building like my style and building the character that I made because it's tough because I mean it's a duck. Ducks are very common and everyone makes ducks, but apparently mine has been doing pretty good individuality wise. People like recognize it and they're like,
Listen,
"Oh
Hello
my
Kitty.
gosh."
Well, Hello Kitty's a girl, not a cat, right?
I think yeah, I think
But
something
like,
I know there was something weird about that. I asked a friend, I was
yeah,
like,
but like
"You don't
everybody
see a
draws
cat?"
cats and there's Hello
Yes.
Kitty and like
No.
like everybody draws frogs and there's whatever that thing's name is or like
Yeah.
so like why not be the duck person? Although I want to be the duck person too.
Exactly. Hey, there's room for
There's
everything. I
room for
feel like
more
everything could
ducks.
have like 10 different things. I mean, there's blue dogs. There's a lot of
Yeah.
blue
Yeah,
dogs, like Bluey,
yeah,
Blue's
Bluey and
Clues.
everybody draws dogs. You know what I mean? Like
Everyone does blue dogs. So there's a blue dog every generation. So I hardcore believe in that it's just what you make it out to be. And I definitely like the fact that I'm being recognized for blue now, which is
mm.
I
Yeah, I wanted
am
to ask you about that. Like you always hit the exact same color palette, it seems, every single time, which I guess is
mhm.
also in the theme of loneliness. Like you're not doing
Yeah, definitely the blue
pink
is
for
I
love or
also
like
just
red
love blue.
for a fast action or whatever. Do you want to monetize your like social media stuff at all? Curious?
I thought of that, but I just couldn't figure it out.
Because I noticed you have merch.
Yeah, oh, I do merch because I just couldn't figure out. I was like, I don't think Instagram has like the best way of monetizing because I know they're leaning in more of a direction of like partnerships and companies reaching out to partner.
Yeah.
So I know I was like, oh, what if I just made my own merch? Because people kept being like, do you have prints? And I'd be like, no. And they'd be like, do you have stickers? And I'd be like, no. And I was like, I have to keep saying no. And I was like, these are potential business things that I could be doing.
Yeah.
So I think like a 2 months after I started getting everything together from like the prints to the figurines to the hoodies and the shirts and just getting everything situated and then dropping it. And I remember I dropped, I think, my website that had my prints and I specifically put my IDs on there, the silly goose IDs
Yeah.
and that I drew up and got made and manufactured and stuff. And I posted a video to Murder on the Dance Floor, which was trending really big. And the video blew up and I got orders. And I was like, I was like, people are buying it. I was like, they don't know who I am. And they're buying this like silly little card that's $7. And people were loving it. And they're like, I love it. I bought one for my boyfriend. I bought one for my girlfriend's birthday. And I'm like, ah, I'm like, this is crazy because I thought that I was just gonna get like maybe two. And I was like, I was gonna be stoked about that. I was gonna be like, oh my god, my birthday orders, whatever. But then I started getting like them by the tens, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this is crazy. And then I opened it up internationally because I figured out with the cards that I can ship them with international postage
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're
which is
lightweight.
not which is not $30. It's just sending in a plain envelope like it's a letter. And I figured out I could ship it that way. And I was like, international? I was like, I got you guys covered. I was like, $3 shipping. How about that instead of 30? And then everyone was like, wow, you're so caring and considerate. And I was like, I know. I was like, I just want
Oh my
everyone in
gosh.
the world.
It
So
sounds amazing. Are you like you like buying a house with this stuff, or is this like this was
no,
great?
it's not house money yet, but and I don't know what's gonna look like after taxes. Haven't paid those yet. So
Oh.
but I'm getting to. I know it's due in March. I got my paperwork situated, but it's it's not a lot because it's definitely a big it's the whole thing you have to have money to make money and like I had money saved up from like my job because I'm like a really big saver and I just didn't know what to spend it on and I was like, yo, I'm gonna spend it on my art because I could write these off as business expenses.
Yeah.
So I bought into like some of the stuff and bought them and it makes
So you're
okay.
not
It's not
going with like one of those suppliers like Redbubble or whatever, where like,
mm-mm.
you just upload your design and then they do
I
it
get
for
all
you.
my
They give
stuff
you 20
myself.
cents. You
Yeah.
like bought like a printer and like and everything.
I didn't
Next,
have a
so
printer for a while. I just got a printer from a friend,
you're
but
going to the
I drive to
library,
the library. Yep. I go to the library.
all
I
been
would
there.
print it all out and
That's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah. So, well, it sounds like you kind of have a formula for continuing that, I guess. So, like, is that like is this giving you more ideas to like build up the business side of things more?
yeah, it's definitely it's like open-ended. I feel like there's just so much room. Like I could do whatever I wanted. Like if I wanted to sell something, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll get that together and figure it out and figure out a manufacturer. And I've been talking to and looking at a couple people that I look online where they make almost like novelty items where they'll make it's people that make like jewelry
Hmm.
and wallets and stuff that are based on like brands. Like there's just one dude and he made a Sour Patch wallet where it was a worm wallet and I think his stuff I forgot his name because there's two of them that make stuff and I really admire them and I totally reached out and was like I tried to like reach out and like be cool with them because I thought like their stuff was so cool and I was like it's crazy because they'll just make cool stuff and they'll find a manufacturer. I was like I want to do that. I was like I'll look for a
Yeah.
manufacturer. I think it's so fun to look where you can get your product from and how to package it and even the
Yeah.
stickers I made I like would cut cellophane like cellophane bags and put them in and like do a topper. I really wanted a topper on my stickers because I thought it made it look cooler. So
Yeah.
I like hand cut, hand stapled, hand packaged each sticker, and I had over like 200 to do.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So
That's it's like so hard to like monetize stop motion specifically, and it sounds
mhm.
like you found like a way to do that. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's yeah. I I knew the heartbreak of looking at it and I was like, man, I was like, stop motion is, it takes long. You're in your room without light. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's
and
hot,
there's,
you're
yeah, it's
sweating,
not a lot of
you're
people
in
know
Vegas,
about
so
it.
like
Yeah, there's not many tutorials on it. It's kind of like a weird niche, and you have to have like kind of a lot of equipment. Dragon frame is, I mean, pretty expensive to start off with. You have to learn technology.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
was just like, how do I hack it? I was like, how do I hack it? Because I love stop motion, but I was like, I think it was a matter of I know I can make something better,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna use it's like I know how to use a hammer, I know how to use a wrench, I know how
Yeah,
to
it's
use a
stepping
nail,
stones.
but people like what the nail looks like. So I'm gonna hammer a nail into the wood and call it a day because I know deep down that I can make cooler stuff.
Yeah, I
But this
mean,
is working, so.
what you're doing is smart. I know people who have like bought all the expensive equipment and then they realize that oh, this is so much effort and work. I don't want to do it. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
start. You should have started small.
Yeah, I'll watch people. It's heartbreaking because I'll watch people online and like they're what I look up to, and I have a lot of followers, and I make simple stuff, and then I watch their stuff. I'm like, this is absolutely breathtaking. This is amazing. Like watch their puppets move, and
Yeah.
the clothes is just hand sewn, and it's just gorgeous.
Do you ever feel
It's so
like super
perfect.
envious where you're like, I love this, but I also want to do this, but I'm
Yeah,
jealous?
but I know their pain where like 10 people look at it. I'm like, this is the coolest thing since sliced bread. This is like the person that I look up to. And it's just like I'll post a simple thing and it'll hit well. And then they'll post something grand and beautiful. And I'm like, this is a masterpiece. This should be in the movie theaters. And it'll get like 10 likes. And I'm like, social media is funny. I definitely think that if you have social media on your side, it definitely controls what you see and what they deem as
Oh
good.
yeah, totally.
Being social media famous does not mean you're good. It just means you either A, know how to play the game, or B, you're just kind of
Well,
hitting
social media is like
notes.
it's like a hit of like dopamine. And
Yeah.
it's like 1 second. Like when I scroll through my like explore page, I'm just like, you know? And
Yeah.
so like I know exactly what you're talking about, where like the people I look up to and I think are phenomenal and I like have to study what they're doing, they get like no likes because like the only people that would see that are people specifically looking for it. Like you said yourself, like you attack like the internet to find stop motion because you want to
Hmm.
consume it. Like I do that every single day. I'm like I look up stop motion every single day to like find new and interesting stuff. I'm not the average person who's like, I don't know, their interests are like fishing or something and they just
Yeah.
happen to come across stop motion. They're like whatever, or they happen to come
Yeah.
across like a lonely duck on their birthday, like relate. So
Yeah.
do you ever like when you look at that stuff, do you ever want to work in a, I guess, like in a sense professional studio that's like does a TV show or a movie? Because like there's a very different path from where you are doing right now, because like the more you play the social media game, the more you get into social media versus like to get into like a studio, you have to like demonstrate like a character can walk and talk and like
Mhm.
lift and like balance and like all these different things, which like is a completely different world.
Yeah, I've thought of that. That is like a dream of mine to not even go into it thinking like, "Oh, I want to master everything that I see on this set." It's more I want to be like a little intern that just sees what everyone does and
Do it.
sees their
Go
little
go
tricks
knock on
and
some doors.
yeah, I was like looking so I was like, "Oh, this is amazing because I think it's nice. I definitely have so much respect and appreciation for the people that animate day in and out, that create these sets and these movies. But I know for me, I want to reinvent it. I want to see how much farther I can take it
Hmm.
because I know there's some absolute stunning and amazing people that make stop motion, and it's so unfortunate that the world doesn't get to see their stuff just because of how long it takes or
Yeah.
how it's marketed. I mean, for example, there's this I want to shout out this person because they don't even know who I am. I've yet to email her, but it's called Oh Black Hole, and I think is the most spectacular thing I've ever seen in the world. And it inspired me to be like, maybe I could make something long form like that. But I think of someone like her where her work is so beautiful. And I'm like, you know what? I'll let her make the beautiful stuff. I want to reinvent and make the stuff that like hits and like the cool stuff and manipulate it and make something even cooler. And maybe it's not even stop motion at this point. Maybe it's literally just like a little comic book. Or maybe I am not even making that. I'm making figurines only and I'm just selling it in little Asian like little markets or whatever. Or I'm shipping overseas to like South Korea and making deals with them. And I was like, that's what I want to do because I know there's people in the world that make this beautiful stuff and I still get to appreciate it. And I think I was reading the picture of Dorian Gray for a little bit. I just started getting into reading, which was quite fun. And they asked him, it was I think it was Lord Henry. He was talking about how he loves he's like just talking very poetically and this guy's like, why aren't you a writer? Like, why aren't you writing books? Like, you're amazing. The world needs to hear what you're saying. And he's like, well, I'm too busy reading to be
Hmm.
writing. And I felt that. I was like, I'm too busy trying to reinvent to be one of those people that makes those longer pieces. So I definitely like resonated with that. And I was like, yeah, I totally get that.
Cool. I guess I have one more question for you, but like it's really interesting to hear your thoughts and on on your art, which is really cool. And also like what you're doing now didn't exist like 10 years ago. Like there was like no place for it. Like you could put them on YouTube, but nobody was watching like, I don't know, short little loops on YouTube. Like it's only what you're doing now is like very recent and like nobody was doing it for years and years because like everything was a big production. So even though like yeah you're playing the social media game a bit, it's the possibilities of what you can do are so much, there's so much more you can do now because there's so many different platforms. So yeah, you could do the long form thing, or oh black hole, you can let somebody else do that. I know the project I looked it up and I've
Yeah.
seen
Oh,
this.
it's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's
It's
great.
my favorite.
So my last
I,
question is like, where do you want to take it from here? Like last year you made a big decision. It hasn't
mhm.
even been a year yet. You
Yeah,
made a
it's
big
not even, it
decision,
hasn't even been the
life-changing
1 year
decision.
anniversary since I dropped out.
3 months later, you take off on social media. It's on what, August? I don't know. It's been 6 months since then. You have 100,000 followers. You've started to create merch. Like, you're on a certain path. Like, what's next on your mind?
I think moving forward, I think I want to go for it even harder. I want to reach out to even more people. I definitely want to not like network because I genuinely like I'm obsessed with like people that make cooler stuff. It's not like I'm doing it to like gain. It's just because I'm so interested. I'm like, I want to ask them all their questions and I'll watch their stuff and I'm like, what is this made out of? And I'll like email them like, is this like foam or is this like a resin? Because like
Yeah,
I
that's
want to
exactly
make
what you should
something
be doing.
similar. And yeah, I want to do more of that. I want to see how far I can take this or even experiment with other things because I'm a full believer of that something else could totally be up your alley and it's just waiting for you to unlock. I'm just waiting to try every single door, going through every door, reaching out, talking to people, seeing how this works. And if I'm like, okay, this doesn't work, I'll make something else. And like learning everything. I want to learn everything. I want to learn more about fabrics and sewing. I want to learn more about writing books and how to be a writer and how to be a better writer. I want to read more books and novels and watch more movies and watch more experimental movies and learn about everyone and what they're doing and find those people that are just making everything and they're doing it and they're living and how they're getting it to work. And I just want to meet those people, talk to those people, see everything. I want to expose myself to absolutely everything because in my head is if I can't emulate something, it's because I haven't been exposed to it yet. So if I expose myself to everything, it's almost like, oh, here's a wrench. I have a wrench now in my toolbox. Here's a screwdriver. I have a screwdriver now. Now I can use this screwdriver. Now I have this hammer. I know how I have a hammer now. And I just want to collect so many tools and see how I can build something differently than the next person or see how I could build something even quicker than the next person. And I just want to do everything and I'm just excited to do everything and I'm already doing it right now. So I'm pumped.
I love this. I love your attitude. It's amazing. It's just
Thank
so
you so much.
it's very refreshing to hear. I talk to a lot of people on this podcast and of all ages, of all parts of the industry, and like I think there's something to be said about like wanting to try everything and be exposed to everything, and it's making me feel motivated too. So I love that.
Yeah, because what do you honestly have to lose?
Well,
I
that's the
mean,
thing. Like,
yeah.
you said it before, like the unknown is so scary, and the unknown is like everything you have to lose, and some people,
Mhm.
they're locked into a mortgage with kids, and other people, they come from a place where they don't have many opportunities or skills or whatever. And it's like, everybody has that unknown thing that they're too scared to give up. But I think you are a clear testament of like jumping in with a great attitude of learning and excitement and seeing
Yeah.
what happens. And here you are, like, I think it's incredible. Millions of people have seen your stuff, and it's only been a couple of months, and that's
Yeah.
that's more than there's so many people who dream of like
I
hitting
know.
a tenth of that, and myself included. Like, it's
I know
it's
it's
it's super
definitely,
great.
yeah, it's definitely, I definitely think, well, because I read about, the infamous resistance, and it that, I mean, I think it's the war of art, and I really resonated with that because I was like, that makes sense. I was
Yeah.
like, resistance is gonna come for me. It's gonna come for everything I have. It's gonna beat me down. It's gonna drag me down the street. It's gonna throw me through the washing machine. It's gonna throw me in the river. It's gonna do everything it can to stop me. This like evil resistance. And I was like, but I'm gonna keep going. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't care if I have this issue. I'm gonna figure out how to fix that. I'm gonna figure out how to make it work because I will not let resistance be the death of me. I will not let my life going to waste be the death of me because I just hold myself too high to do that. And if I
Yeah.
hold myself that high, then I feel confident, I feel happy, and that's all I want for myself. And I definitely think like learning to get over that resistance and get over that and be like, who cares? Like I'm doing my thing. I'm not going to compare myself because everyone's running their own race. Someone might be at the end of the race. They might be super successful. They might be greater like than you ever wish you could ever be. And you're like, wow, I envy that person. Like I'm so upset. I don't want to do anything. They're good. And then they die tomorrow in a tragic car accident. That was the end of their life. And your race is probably in the beginning. Like you're in the beginning and there's like all this in the future. So I was very much so like I'm gonna run for it. I'm gonna gun for it. I'm gonna go for it. Cause I mean,
Yeah, you
I
have
don't
no
have
idea.
anything to lose. Yeah. So
Exactly. I love that. Is there anything else you wanted to share as we're wrapping things up?
um I think just I want to give props to myself because I think it's pretty cool, but definitely props to everyone that I've been inspired by because you know how the whole thing is that there's no originality. You kind of just are stealing from everyone else. You're just making it look good enough to not look like plagiarism. I definitely want to give like a invisible appreciation to like everyone that's made anything before me because they're like the grandfathers of stop motion of art and appreciating all their little films and I think I appreciate them so much because especially the older stuff where they were
Yeah.
making like cool little puppets and sets and I was like they made it in a time when people were probably like this person is crazy, they're a
Yeah, it didn't even
witch,
exist.
like
They're like, what are you
yeah,
doing?
this is like who this person's crazy, this is witchcraft. And I think I just have such a strong appreciation for anyone that's made stuff before now and then that I've looked at because all my stuff is just everything I've experienced through them. And I think it's just really cool. And I appreciate everything I've seen, everything I've yet to see. And yeah, I just have a big appreciation for those who have ran and walked so I can sprint on through the path. So they've laid all the groundwork and they've done all their stuff and now I get to enjoy and witness them and then make my own stuff. So
I love
definitely
that.
some invisible appreciation for
I
everyone
love
before.
that. Great, great last words. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on the chat. It's been I've certainly enjoyed it. It's been excellent. It's super interesting for me to hear the person behind the Instagram account that I've been
Of
following. So thank
course.
you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I was super stoked about this. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and if you're listening and you want to check out Emmy's stuff and you haven't already, you can check out her Instagram, which is mnro.emmy, or check out her website, which is mnro.com. And I'm going to include both those links in the description of this chat. And that's all for now. So thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye. The music for this podcast was composed by Willem Mendo and the graphics by Luhan Wang. I encourage you to look them up if you've enjoyed their work.